Hello and welcome back to a new episode of International Corner. This is the week leading to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, the second leg against Bayern Munich here at San Siro. But also we've got Easter coming up, Easter Sunday, a game. Richard here with me. What do you think the Easter Bunny is bringing for us?
Well, normally children want a surprise, don't they? But I don't think I like surprises when it comes to football. I like more of the same. So.
Yeah, but it could be a good surprise. Maybe it's going to be a good surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, good surprise. There's the answer. Exactly.
But anyway, Richard, as you can see, our friend Richard is rather fatigued in the eye. He's so tired because he's spent the most amazing weekend over in Italy, hasn't he?
Yeah, I do look tired. I'll give you that one.
It's actually an improvement. It's an improvement.
You mentioned the eyes. That's the first age joke. You normally do about 15 minutes in, but that was a good effort. No, and seriousness now, I've literally just landed from being back in Milan for Inter Cagliari, and straight on to do this. It's a shame that we couldn't do it together. Actually, just schedules didn't work, but. Yeah, it's good to be doing it with you, and it was an incredible weekend. And the most important thing about it was we got the results and we got the job done, and now we can obviously move on to focus on Bayern.
Yeah, but I need to ask you something. What was the best thing out of your experience at the stadium? Best thing. It could be something related to the game. So I'll give you three options. Something related to the game, something related to being in Italy, or something that happened during the match or before the match at the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been to Milan a million times in a million games, and for me though, what this was really special. I know Inter Cagliari might not sound the most special game in the world, but it was my little boy 6, big Inter fan, his first game at San Siro, and it was a couple of things where obviously you always host me so brilliantly well, and it was nice to bit surreal in some respects. Sat there with my little boy talking to Goran Pandev, which was quite strange, But I think my little boy, as I was a very failed goalkeeper, my little boy wants to be a goalkeeper. And when Julio Cesar came past him and rubbed him on the head, and I told him he was going to try to be a goalkeeper. And I feel like my little boy has now been anointed. So that's my favourite thing there. Although it did scare me at one point when my little boy looked up at the curver and asked me if he could take his shirt off, which I said absolutely not.
No, you never do. You shouldn't be doing that. But yeah. And the curva is the stand from the home fans, of course. In the curva is actually the round part of the stadium. How do you say that in English?
We don't really have it. I suppose North Stand would probably be the best thing to say. Yeah, the North Stand, or some football teams say Kop, like Liverpool, for instance. It's but no, we don't really have the same terminology as we do in Italy.
Right. So the match against Cagliari, of course, everyone was hoping to forget very quickly about what happened in Parma. Nothing really to forget about. It wasn't dreadful. It was just a case of, it's a very tight Serie A this season. You don't want to drop points, and just the tiny error could cost you a lot. And in Cagliari, we saw a totally different scenario. Wasn't that the case? What do you think?
Yeah, massively. I think, excuse me, everyone's going to talk about Marko Arnautovic because he was so good in that game. I mean, Gazzetta have obviously put him as man of the match. I think that he was certainly that man. He stepped up, and this is a player who obviously has been with us before, but he was fantastic. I mean, he took his goal so well because it wasn't the easiest. We made some really good chances early on. Lautaro obviously nearly could have scored very, very early on. Di Marco good, but the ball in when it came to Arnautovic, he took a bit of a weird touch, but his control was brilliant. Then he just rifled it into the roof of the goal. And it was a fantastic start, really. I think that for him, he's not always been the first choice, obviously, not even been the third choice at times.
No, you're right. But because, of course, you've got other strikers or centre forwards ahead of him with, let's say, more youthful, even though the age thing is not really an aspect that matters much at Inter, because we know the average age is quite high. But there is something that Inzaghi said after the match in the post-match interview when talking about Marko Arnautovic, his goal and his assist. He said, Marco sees football, vede calcio. What do you think he meant with that? It's something so like in a cloud of his own
No, absolutely. But look at the assist. That's what that means when you see football. That assist that he made for Lautaro was ridiculous. It really was. The fact that the vision there, and I think the thing what the Mist is referring to is that he does have that vision and he can see what's going on around him, and he's got the technique to do that. And he's really come in he knows his role in the squad, and he's been incredibly useful. And if we do go all the way, it's games like today where these sort of players shouldn't be understated and should be lauded as being title winners if we get there.
Statistically, Marco Arnautovic is now making headlines. Is the first Inter player to find the net in at least 4 consecutive home games in Serie A since Lautaro Martinez between April and September 2023. In that time lapse, it scored 5 times in home. And he's also scored and provided an assist in a single match in the competition for the first time ever in his career. So even back when he was at Bologna, he didn't do that. And here it seems that this is the motto, I think, the motto, the mantra of Inter. It can bring out the best out of the best, you know what I mean? So if you are a decent player or a talented player, when you join Inter, it kind of brings out something that goes beyond what you were used to be doing. Isn't that? Do you think about this?
It completely isn't. Some people who watch this probably think I'm repetitive, but I'm not being when I say about the fact of the utilization of the squad. So if you are a player of, in your 30s and you come to Inter and you're not going to be number 1 or number 2, the biggest difference is you're going to get games. Inzaghi rotates and you're going to have an opportunity to be a difference maker in the title race and for trophies. And that's what Marco's been able to do. And when he has been called on, just as so many others have, he's done it. And against Cagliari, the goal, that pass, there's a reason. And when he was called on, he's done the job. So yeah, it makes sense.
And I just want to mention, now you said that everyone who's called on can actually perform on that occasion. Jan Bissek, I mean, a while back he said, all my hopes of being a centre forward were vanished when he didn't manage to score a goal. I can't remember which game it was. But now, of course, with that header, he proved everyone wrong. It was a perfect header, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know this. You're the stat person. I'd love to know how high he actually jumped on that. We've seen some big jumps. We've seen, in Serie A over the last couple of years for headers. But that was a good leap, and no.
He's quite tall, though. Let me give you that. He's one of the tallest. Like him, Acerbi, De Vrij, they're quite tall. But they was precise. He hit it with the right part of his head, which I could not do that.
And the celebration. I mean, he's got a great character.
Yeah,
I love the fact of players who play with smiles on their faces.
Yeah, he was celebrating because he said to me once in an interview a while back that in another life he was going to be a basketball player. He said he's self-taught, but then he happened to be also a good footballer. He said a decent footballer, not like that good.
Well, he would have been good when you see it there. It's not just a jump; it's when players can hang in the air.
Yeah,
and that's what impresses me. It's great when you see goalkeepers do it, but when you see defenders or forwards do it and they hang in the air and then direct the header, it's a special talent, I think, and one that's going out the game a little bit. So fair play to him.
There's another stat about that game. We talk about Lautaro Martinez's goal. He became the first foreign player to score more than 10 goals against Cagliari in Serie A. I wonder why that happened. The other players that scored a lot of goals are Francesco Totti with 14 and Ciro Immobile with 13. And in the top flight, there aren't that many. If you think about it currently, That's I think a good stat. I don't know why I picked Cagliari to score so many against. I would have picked another team, but I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Listen, I'm a failed sportsman, so I can't say anything. But I just remember when I used to play as a goalkeeper and at a very bad level, should we say. But I always knew the games where I knew I'd keep a clean sheet because you just knew the feeling about when you play a team. And for whatever reason, when he probably started, it may have been a really big reason of why that first goal meant something. But every time he goes in the pitch against Cagliari, knows he's going to score. He's in good company with Immobile and Totti, by the way. But, you know, it's sometimes I think as a sports person, you just know, I reckon. I think that, I don't know. I can't explain it any other way. Otherwise, he just doesn't like Sardinia. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so, because if you think about it, Barella is actually from there, and he's got quite a good relationship with him, I believe. And yeah, former team as well, of course, for Nicola Barella. Now, speaking of Barella, and speaking of the mood that our Inter is going to go into Wednesday game, you know, of course, we've just got a massive win with spectacular football. We defeated Bayern Munich and broke a sensational record for them. They had the record of 22 wins at home, and we managed to break that. And also, so we come from a very positive situation, let's say, because even though we're still in the Coppa Italia, we're still in the Champions League, we've got such a tight league to go through, whereas for them things have gotten a little bit easier because they are at the top of the Bundesliga with 69 points. The runners-up are at 63, so I mean for them is pretty much sorted out. But Bayern Munich have just picked up a draw, so maybe against a team that, you know, is still in the Champions League, but they've got a tough game ahead of them, I believe. So what do you think is the mood around Inter, the mood around Bayern Munich coming in at San Siro?
I think the thing with Bayern, I think when you have a top club, and I think that you're starting to see that with Inter, and we've seen it in the past with Inter, but especially with Bayern, you look at it, same thing with Real Madrid. Sometimes you see these teams and it doesn't matter about the result before. You know that they're still going to be completely on point. It's really rare that they won't be. So in one way, it's actually not a bad thing for Inter, because they can almost go into the game looking at this as in they're going to have to be at their best. Whoever comes onto the pitch, however we rotate, it's not going to be an easy game. And we know that. Listen, the result was fantastic in Bavaria. I think, like you said, it's 4 years since they've lost at home. I think that's maybe the stat. We wrote our luck at times, but we showed the confidence and we showed our ability. So for me, it's more of the same. We have to be switched on, because mistakes will cost you in this game. So it won't be easy, but the one thing we've always got behind us is our fans, and we've got San Siro, and that is worth a lot, in my opinion.
You're right, we got San Siro, but unfortunately there is one stat that you cannot, the elephant in the room, this stat is, against Bayern, we have never won in San Siro. That's the stat that everyone is probably saying, yeah, it's there, but we can sort of put it up on one side this time around because of what kind of team we've got now, what kind of team they have, and what happened in the first leg, I think. I mean, we displayed excellent football. It wasn't just, a match ruled by single episodes, a penalty that, those episodes that only happen when you call Real Madrid. I'm joking.
Yeah,
well, they can try. They've got it really hard coming up, but anything can happen. I mean, it was such a beautiful game to watch with Bastoni MVP of the game. I want to talk about him now because I think that it was just his birthday yesterday, 26 years of age. He's been at Inter quite a while now, and I think that over the years he has improved, but he has developed into something extra. As a defender, he's not like the typical defender, the Italian defender, as you would call him. He can set the game, he can create and start the action on top of defending. That's his job, of course. And against Bayern, I think it was sensational. I've got some stats here, but before I do say these stats out loud, what can you tell me about Bastoni and how he's now perceived back home for you in the UK?
Well, that's you seamless link there, by the way, because I was just about to talk about that. When I go to Italy and I speak to people, Bastoni's seen as he should be, is this incredible defender, athletic, positionally brilliant, tactically intelligent, and the passing, the fact that he can interchange into midfield, the transitions. We could talk about him all day, which I'm sure we will. But I think that in Europe, he's underrated. I think he is one of the most underrated defenders in world football at this moment, and that's a big statement. But I believe that because I don't think that Serie A sometimes gets, especially in the UK, the acknowledgement it deserves. And yes, okay, you get these links here and there, which I'm glad there's not enough links to other clubs. But for me personally, like you say, for his age, his passing ability, what he brings to the team, I struggle to, and I watch a lot of European football, a lot of South American football. I struggle to find a defender who I would pick over him. So yeah, for me, underrated outside of Italy, but what an asset we have, and long may he continue to keep playing for us.
Yeah. And the first leg against Bayern Munich, he played the whole 90 minutes. Accurate passes, 86%. One key pass, completed dribbling 2 out of 2. He won 8 duels out of 9, 2 shots blocked, 5 tackles, and 1 ball intercepted. But as you said before, for us, for Inter, I think that the action sometimes starts from the defenders like Bastoni. But you also mentioned that sometimes it starts from your favorite person, Jan Sommer, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Only because you were a goalkeeper in your previous life.
No, listen.
No.
Against Cagliari, did you not see what he did? He slipped.
I did
he
see
slipped. He was literally on the floor, and he still gets up and saves it.
Yeah, he's a big cat, isn't he?
Unbelievable. And that's when I was with my little boy. I remember most of the game just saying, "Watch that man in yellow. Just watch that man in yellow. Look how calm he is." Listen, Jan Sommer's a huge asset to us, of course.
Yeah.
And I know I talk about him a lot, but it is, even with, the age of the goalkeeper doesn't matter as much, but his calmness, the fact that he knows Bayern, the fact that he can be part of that sort of back line that just makes it calm. And they're going to need to be that. But again, look, against Cagliari, I thought he was almost faultless. He's going to need another good game. And every time we need him to have a good game, he has one. So, yeah, I mean, look, for me personally...
He also went through an injury this year when he broke his finger as well. So, I mean, he was back very, very quickly, and he just he never missed a game. Although when Josep Martinez stepped in for him, it did really well. But, with Jan Sommer, there's the guarantee that... I see him playing with his feet a lot as well, or not? Jan Sommer, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I think we touched on this. I think one of the most amazing games was when we played Manchester City in the Champions League not so long ago, and we played it around the back. And Barella, who we've just talked about, Jan Sommer, the fact the calmness under pressure is something else. And I think that is really important when we go back to Italian football of years gone by. It's that calmness under pressure.
Yeah, because I think for a goalkeeper, being able to pass the ball, to his players with his feet is something that is always a bit risky. Like somebody's gonna come there and intercept it or something. But he's just relaxing. It seems like one of the guys out of the goal. Do you understand what I mean?
I think what's really important about that is with his age, when he started goalkeeping and his training, he probably wouldn't have been he wouldn't have had to do that. This is something he's had to adapt to his game over time. Right. Younger goalkeepers now are footballers.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Not have to have started like that. So his adaptation is incredible for me.
Right, and also another man. So this is the man that you always want to talk about. The man I'd like to talk about, and I think everyone did say a lot of things about him, is Nicola Barella. Barella as well is one of those players that is always on alert. I think even when you see him off the pitch as well, he's always got that energy, always present, always focused. It doesn't turn on. Do you know what I mean? It's always with this energy, and it's ready to do stuff, to pass the ball, to run the ball. And what I like best about it, he can just pass the ball miles away, intercepting with someone. It's just something that comes so effortless to him. How can you he sees that and he's okay, I'm gonna pass to him, and I'm sure it's gonna go well. It's so precise. So he sees football in a different way from Marco Arnautovic. I think he sees how he can make that ball go past all the other players, and he has the skills to do it. Among Serie A midfielders, Barella's got most assists, most key passes, shot assists, through passes completely, crosses, accurate crosses to box, and passes to penalty box. I mean, I think we need Barella in our lives.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to ask you a question about Barella, but
Yeah.
very quickly beforehand. Again, watching him, I posted something on social media saying that San Siro never gets old, because even I've been there a million times and it's always better every time you go. But watching Nicola Barella also doesn't get old, because when you see the way he controls the game, and that was pretty much my post, it's unbelievable how much he dictates it. He's like a master chess player. He just seems to know where everything is, what's going on, the confidence. My question is that I've never had the privilege to meet him, to be fair. I've had the privilege to meet a lot of players, but not him. And everything I read is about his maturity for his age. I know
it's I don't know. I wouldn't say is the maturity. What do you mean? As his personality?
Yeah, in the sense of the way that he sees probably life, the game, everything. Because
I think it's more to do with the game, because outside, when you see them around here during training session, he's always so energetic and so cheerful and up for a laugh, but also trying to make the training sessions so fun that it doesn't strike as somebody who's serious. Like Mkhitaryan, for example, I would say he's mature. He's the one always, with a certain aura about him, where is always so composed. And whereas Nicola is the one person that you look at him and you forget about what you were thinking about. He's like, he's got these vibes around him. I don't know how to explain to you. I mean, if you have done sports in your life, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. The person always switched on, Not that the other players don't have that, but I think he's like that in his private life as well.
I just think when you look, I mean, I've said this before, one of my favourite ever Inter players was Lothar Matthäus, and he reminds me a lot of him in the way he plays. But to be able to do that with that amount of fun, like you say, is even better. Because like I said before, I like a player who plays with a smile on his face. But watching him against Cagliari, I mean, obviously, it's literally just come back from there, so I'm going to talk about it. I was just blown away with him again. Just what he does off the ball, on the ball, it's...
He doesn't go. He doesn't go and have to think about it. He just like goes with it. His body is like in. If you were cycling, you would say he's in beast mode, but he's not. He's in this. He's in the zone all the times. Anyway, I have something to ask you. But it's not personal. Don't worry about it. So we are gonna go. We're gonna face the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Of course, we all know that we have recently faced the quarterfinals of the Champions League when we went all the way down to Istanbul, where we play in the final. That unfortunately did not come to our favor against Man City. So all the players at Inter right now that were in that squad, of course, have already played in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. Who do you think, out of these players, if you can remember, I can help you because I've looked into that, has already played a quarterfinal of the Champions League that was not at Inter back in the...
Marco
Nerazzurri did, because he was already at Inter when the year of the treble.
Yeah.
And he actually won the year of the treble, of course, won the Champions League. He wasn't one of the protagonists, but of course...
No, he was there.
Okay. No, but there are a lot more than that. One is Jan Sommer. Of course, he played in the Champions League quarterfinals when he used to play for Bayern Munich.
I thought you meant players who played for Inter before.
No. I meant in general. So, because I'm trying to set them, because I was trying to think about, the reason I'm saying this, because I'm trying to establish what the mindset of these players is, who has already faced a similar situation. And of course, Bayern Munich as well, playing a part into that. So Mkhitaryan, yes, of course, he used to play with Borussia Dortmund back in 2013-14. Do you remember who he faced back then?
Dortmund, when he was at Dortmund with Bayern, didn't he?
The team that has to really make a very good effort now to go through.
Bayern. So Mickey was
No. He lost. He played against. He was playing with Borussia Dortmund and faced Real Madrid.
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't get that one. Was
Then
Pavard on?
Pavard, of course, because he did win it
Of course.
with Bayern Munich. Okay.
Was that the game against Dortmund then? No.
No. It was in 2019-2020 against PSG.
PSG, of course.
PSG.
Yes.
Okay. Then Sommer. Did we say Sommer?
Yeah, we got Sommer. Yeah, that's
He
good.
played against Man City in the same year that we went all the way. Bayern got defeated 3-0 in the first leg and then drew 1-1 in the second, so they got knocked out. And then there's two other players. Let's see if you remember these two. Two other players. One is currently injured and one is come back from injury.
He's one right midfielder.
Now. Sorry?
He's one midfielder.
One midfielder and one is a centre forward. Do you want
to... is David Porto.
Yeah, and he actually scored. He actually scored in that quarterfinals against Chelsea in 2021, but still that game was lost by Porto. Midfielder against...
I know it. Oh, why do you do this to me? Well, can we prep this at least so I get a chance?
No. Oh. No, I know that your issue is that you've got bad memory because you're aging like naturally.
Oh, now we get it. So we should moment this. So that's minute 1 and minute 27.
Piotr Zielinski, because of course he played with Napoli, and Napoli in 2022-2023 they played against AC Milan, who we then faced because they got knocked out by AC Milan. Do you remember that? The year of these bloody derbies. And it's again, well, at least it's not the Champions League. I mean, it's the Coppa Italia, but it's one thing facing your city rivals in the Champions League that was like nerve-wracking. So how did you like those stats? I mean, of course, all the players that were here and back in the year of the Istanbul final, of course, haven't faced it, but this is just to set how important it can be and how demanding it can be to have a quarterfinals against Bayern Munich for some of these players. And of course, for those who have already been in that situation, they know what the opponents are going to be looking to be doing, especially Sommer and Pavard. I mean,
it's a mindset. I think when you have those, players who played at those clubs, you win a game and then it's gone straight away, and it's the next game that's important. And even sometimes when these players win trophies, it's gone, and then it's the next season.
Yeah,
that's the mindset of elite players, and I think that we've got enough of them, And so at the end of the day, I don't think anyone. Yeah, the celebrations were good, and it might be okay for people like myself to message you lots of things after the Bayern game and get way too emotional.
Yeah,
that happened. But the players won't. They will see it, they will do it, and they will get on with it. And I believe that's why we'll have a very professional performance in the second leg.
And also you got to look at these stats. Inter remained undefeated in the last 14 home games in the Champions League, 12 wins and 2 draws. This is the longest streak in the competition after they, as I said before, interrupted the 22 games undefeated of Bayern Munich with the win in the first leg. Also, another stat that is sort of encouraging. The numbers are nothing if not just a big encouragement in my case. Lautaro Martinez scored in his last 14 Champions League games. And only 2 players have done better from Inter in the competition. 7 in total is 7 goals for Lautaro last season. Crespo scored 9 times in the season 2003, and Samuel Eto'o 8 goals in the season of 2010-2011. So these are 2 encouraging stats, but also there are still things that need to be happening, because we've got the game to set the mood. Of course, tonight there's Napoli playing against Empoli at home. Is just something that we're still keeping an eye on the Serie A and what happens if it all goes our way. There's a good chance we can have a decent margin against them. And also, of course, tomorrow, the other teams that are in the quarterfinals are playing, and we are starting to see what's going to happen. I mean, we are Have you looked at the table now? The big, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think you know what? I think that with Inter, I do think they can go a long way. I mean, you look at teams like, teams that have really got the hunger for it, like Arsenal, for instance.
Yeah.
There's a good example who play very, not similar football, not as direct as we do, not quickly on the counter, but they
A
do
very
knock the ball
physical football.
very physical, focusing a lot on set pieces this year. I'd put those as a real. I think they've got a real squad, real depth,
Yeah.
and a real structure and a real process. That's how I see Inter. So I think those are the clubs that can go a long way. Of course, there are teams, with standout stars,
But also you have to take into account how the first leg went. Of course, we said Arsenal have this 3-0 advantage. So I mean, Real Madrid really have to pull one out of the bag. I don't know.
No, that's the right phrase. It's the right phrase. It's a lot to ask.
Aston Villa as well playing tomorrow against Paris Saint-Germain. It's going to be a long stretch for the English side, isn't that?
Yeah, I mean, Aston Villa, look, at the end of the day, I would say that they've really, no, I wouldn't say punched above their weight, but to an extent they have. Again, not a squad with huge depth, reliance on, people like Ollie Watkins, who is limited really to the support he gets. Again, when you go into places like Bayern, you go into places like San Siro, the atmosphere at Villa Park, yes, it's good, but it's not anything like it. So, yeah, Paris Saint-Germain, of course, we've always got to keep an eye on them because they're always going to be dangerous.
And then, of course, Barcelona have got a 4-0 advantage in the first leg against Borussia Dortmund, who have just played against Bayern Munich. So it's going to be quite a game if they can, the German side can manage to turn that around. Barcelona, of course, if they stick to their effort, are the teams that would be eventually. Well, I'm going to touch it, very lightly. We eventually be facing in the semi-final. Barcelona don't win the Champions League since 2014-15. Because Real Madrid got quite a lot of them in the way. So with
Barcelona, the only thing I've got about Barcelona, if you look into the history of Barcelona, and this is probably why they've not won as many European trophies as they should have done, is that politics can at any point intervene in their season. And it can completely throw things on its head. Look, I've not watched enough Spanish football to be able to give you an expert opinion, but Barcelona have been exceptionally good this season when they've been on form. But at times they've looked in the league, from what I've seen, sometimes a little lapse. And I think they're fallible defensively. So Barcelona aren't someone I particularly fear. So again, I think with Inter, it's about getting the job done, if we can perform to the best of our ability, then we should be okay. At least take teams to, like we are doing with Bayern right now. We should be able to take them to the wire.
It's just a case if Vincent Kompany has sort of understood how to break our game, because that's always the case. You remember last season, our 3-5-2 was undefeatable. It could not, a lot of teams struggled because they could not understand where the hell the players were coming from. And it was, we're all the our esterni, the wing backs that I don't call wing backs anymore because they are defenders, but they're always, trying to score goals. So this season you could tell that some sides managed to have the hang of it. We need to see if Kompany understands what's going on this season after replaying the first leg,
Vincent Kompany's an intelligent coach, definitely, but he's still got a lot to prove. When we look at his history, Burnley's not really high on anyone's CV list, and this is his first big outing. He's a very intelligent player, of course, but that doesn't always transition into coaching. Yeah. So, it's a test for him. But Inzaghi certainly, for me, has won over on him so far.
So tonight we're going to keep an eye on what Napoli does, of course, but we are looking forward to see what happens on Wednesday night when I'm going to go down, watch it at San Siro live, of course. And do not text me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being with you, Richard.
It's going to happen. Just understand it's going to happen.
No, there's no reception there at the stadium. You should know that. Not good enough because it's full of people. It's been a pleasure having you again, and happy Easter, everyone.
Ciao, ciao. Brilliant. Thank you.